How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is one of the best books of all time on the subject of human behavior and relationships. Today, we will be discussing key points in the book. Doing so will give us a clear understanding of how to implement the information from the book into our own lives. Part 1. Fundamental Techniques for Handling People. Let's start with the fundamentals. When you walk into the office, send an email to a colleague, or attend a networking event, you should always follow these 3 basic principles. Principle number 1. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Criticism more often is met with resentment than behavioral change. When you do not agree with someone, feel they have done wrong, or need to give someone negative feedback, it's hard not to be critical. However, Dale Carnegie argues we cannot change behavior with threats or punishments. In his classic study, psychologist B.F. Skinner proved that when animals are rewarded for good behavior, they learn faster than animals punished for bad behavior. Let's follow Benjamin Franklin's wise advice. I will speak ill of no man, and speak all the good I know of everybody. Principle number 2. Make people feel important with curiosity. The big secret of dealing with people is making everyone feel important. We don't do this with false flattery or brown-nosing. There's nothing worse than an office suck-up. Carnegie argues the best way to make someone feel important is to be curious about them. When you're sitting with a colleague or chatting with someone at a networking event, ask questions that allow you to be sincerely interested. Follow Charles Schwab's lead. I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among the men the greatest asset I possess, and the way to develop the best that is in a man is by appreciation and encouragement. Principle number 3. Appeal to the other person's desires. Before empathy became a buzzword, Carnegie was all about putting yourself in everyone else's shoes. The best metaphor in this chapter comes from David Lloyd George, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He said he was able to maintain his power because he could bait the hook to suit the fish. When you want to convince someone to buy your product, go into business with you, or agree with your idea, don't tell them why it will work, tell them why it will benefit them. Make Henry Ford's motto your own. If there is any one secret to success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from his angle as well as your own. We will now move on to part 2, 6 ways to make people really like you. This part starts with principle number 4, become genuinely interested in other people. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. Instead of thinking about how you can be impressive, aim to let others impress you. Invite them to tell you about their accomplishments and check in with them on both personal and professional endeavors. If you are comfortable, become the office cheerleader or a supporter of people in your network. Some ideas include the following. Remember other people's birthdays. Send LinkedIn messages of congratulations when someone in your network gets a promotion or professional success. Coordinate office parties for personal celebrations such as births, accomplishments, or birthdays. Principle number 5. Genuinely smile. A simple way to make a good first impression. This is the only principle in the entire book that I have some issues with. Carnegie argues that a smile is the best way to show someone, I like you. You make me happy. I'm glad to see you. While this is true advice, it can backfire if you do not actually feel happy to see someone. You are having a bad day yourself. You are trying to fake it until you make it. In a professional setting, a smile is not always needed. A warm greeting, yes. Acknowledgement of someone, definitely. Avoiding the negative, sure. But you do not have to walk around the office with a fake smile plastered to your face. It comes across as insincere and is not seen as professional. Humans are genetically predisposed to process facial expressions. Your smile and the way you carry yourself must be genuine. Principle number 6. Remember people's names. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. We love hearing the sound of our own name. An easy way to make someone feel appreciated and heard is to show them you remember their name by using it regularly. This also means you have to work to remember names when you hear them. Create a system to remember people's names or study up before meetings or networking events by looking over the RSVP list. Dale Carnegie summarizes this nicely. The average person is more interested in his or her own name than in all the other names on earth put together. Principle number 7. Be a good listener by encouraging others to talk about themselves. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. We often think that being a good conversationalist means coming up with witty stories and funny jokes, but actually we like to hear ourselves talk. If you want to be seen as interesting, ask interesting questions and try to get the other person to open up. This doesn't mean you have to sit listening in silence. I like to think about listening as an active experience. Ask questions, use ahas and wows, and give them nonverbal encouragement. Are you really addicted to talking? Or worse, are you an interrupter? You might consider taking a vow of silence. I do one of these every year and have found it to be life-changing for my listening ability. Principle number 8. Talk in terms of the other person's interests and concerns. I love to look for people's hot buttons. These are topics of conversations that light people up. You should know all of your colleagues' hot buttons. What do they love to talk about? What do they spend their free time reading about? What gets them talking? Whenever you are with them, try to encourage them to talk about their most passionate interests and try to learn from them. This is the best way to get someone onto your side, to show them you are interested in theirs. Listen to Teddy Roosevelt. The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most. Principle number 9. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Treat other people in the way you yourself would like to be treated. Carnegie says that whenever you meet someone, you should ask yourself this basic question: what is there about him that I can honestly admire? Practice doing this with everyone you meet and pay special attention to people closest to you. Moving on to part 3, how to win people over to your way of thinking. Principle number 10. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. You can't win an argument. Carnegie makes a great argument about arguing. You can't win. Even if you have the best possible stances and evidence, if you shoot down your opponent or make them feel wrong, they will resent you. So even if you technically win, you actually lose. This is especially hard in the age of data, instant Googling, and research. If you want to prove someone wrong, see how you can discover what is right together. Abraham Lincoln wisely said, "No man who is resolved to make the most of himself can spare the time for personal contention." Principle number 11. Never say, "You're wrong." A sure way of making enemies, and how to avoid it. Every conflict or debate should start with a big dose of humility. We tend to think we are in the right all the time, immune to silly mistakes. However, if we go through life constantly thinking I'm right, that makes others instantly wrong if they disagree with you. No one likes to be wrong. Instead, be open to others' opinions. I love Carnegie's script for when he thinks someone is wrong. Say the following statement: I thought otherwise, but I may be wrong. I frequently am. And if I am wrong, I want to be put right. Let's examine the facts. Then proceed to discover the facts together. Principle number 12. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. If you're wrong, admit it. Admitting you're wrong is actually a great way to build empathy, rapport, and trust. Instead of avoiding your mistakes or trying to hide them, Carnegie encourages readers to admit wrongdoing quickly, openly, and with enthusiasm. This helps people see you as human, and when you condemn yourself, other people seek to understand you and perhaps even defend you. Principle number 13. Begin in a friendly way. The high road to a man's reason is kindness. No matter how angry, frustrated, or upset you are, never start on a bad foot. There is almost no way to recover from a bad start. Woodrow Wilson put it best: if you come at me with your fists doubled, I think I can promise you that mine will double as fast as yours. But if you come to me and say, let us sit down and take counsel together, and if we differ from one another, understand why it is that we differ from one another. Just what the points at issue are, we will presently find that we are not so far apart after all, that the points on which we differ are few, and the points on which we agree are many. And that if we only have the patience and the candor and the desire to get together, we will get together. Principle number 14. Get the other person saying yes as quickly as possible. The secret of Socrates. Always try starting an interaction on agreement. What can you and the other person emphatically agree on? What questions can you ask that get the other person to say yes or me too? If you start an agreement, it is easier to finish with agreement. Carnegie bases his argument on the Socratic method. His approach to people always was to ask people questions with which they have to agree. This gets people into a yes frame of mind and will make them more open to new ideas later. It also makes no's harder, so people think twice before saying no. Principle number 15. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. This is the safety valve in handling complaints. When people do not feel heard, understood, or valued, they close up and shut down. If you are dealing with a difficult person, try finding the good in them. Remind them of their best day. La Rochefoucauld wisely said, if you want enemies, excel your friends. But if you want friends, let your friends excel you. Principle number 16. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. How to get cooperation. This is a hard one, but incredibly important. Carnegie argues that credit should not always be given where it is due. Give up credit, offer praise, and highlight someone else's contribution. This will do wonders for building up a certain level of rapport. In the words of Lao Tzu, the reason why rivers and seas receive the homage of 100 mountain streams is that they keep below them. Thus they are able to reign over all the mountain streams. So the sage, wishing to be above men, put himself below them. Wishing to be before them, he put himself behind them. Thus, though his place be above men, they do not feel his weight. Though his place be before them, they do not count it an injury. Principle number 17, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. A formula that will work wonders for you. There's a simple test you can use to test your own opinions. Try arguing against yourself. If you clearly are able to argue someone else's point of view, it means you can see both sides clearly. Make a practice of stepping into the other person's shoes and arguing their points for them. This helps you check in on your own opinions and regularly remind people that you understand and empathize with how they feel. Principle number 18, be sympathetic toward the other person's ideas and desires. What everybody wants, sympathy. We all want to make sure that people understand our point of view. In fact, the more you can use someone else's words and tell them about their own opinions, the better. Carnegie uses a magical phrase, I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I should undoubtedly feel just as you do. Principle number 19, appeal to the nobler motives. An appeal that everybody likes. We all like to think of ourselves as good people. We like to think we have values. We like to think of ourselves as upstanding citizens. It's important to remind people of their higher values. For example, Carnegie tells a story of a landlord who has a tenant who wants to break his lease 4 months early. Instead of pointing out the contract details and threatening a claim, he tries this instead. Mr. Doe, I have listened to your story and I still don't believe you intend to move. I sized you up when I first met you as being a man of your word. Take a few days to think it over, and if you still intend to move, I will accept your decision as final. By appealing to someone's sense of goodness, you often can encourage them to act with good intentions. Principle number 20, dramatize your ideas. The movies do it. The radio does it. Why don't you do it? The more you can make your language, examples, and stories vivid, interesting, dramatic, the more people will listen. We all like a little bit of flair and drama. Don't stick with a boring slide template, make it snazzy. Don't present from a lectern. Take some ideas from the best TED Talks. Don't do what everyone else is doing, do something different. This is especially important if you are doing a lot of presentations or public speaking. Principle number 21, throw down a challenge. A little competition can be good to get people energized. If you need to motivate people and you have tried sincere compliments, showing empathy and helping people feel heard, then you might want to try stimulating those competitive juices. There are easy ways to do this in an office. Set up a scoreboard for leads. Track sales numbers. Have an idea competition. When something feels too boring, use competition to turn your endeavors into a game. We are now moving on to part 4. Be a leader. How to change people without offending them or arousing resentment. Principle number 22. How to keep a disagreement from becoming an argument. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. Ask yourself the following questions. What has someone done well? Where can you agree? What is working? Carnegie encourages readers to start all difficult interactions, especially ones that have the potential for disagreement, with honest appreciation. I call this the sandwich method. If you have to give someone bad news, put it in between 2 slices of good bread. For example, bread, sincere appreciation, filling, bad news, bread, compliment. When communicating bad news, delivery is everything. Principle number 23, welcome the disagreement. How to criticize and not be hated for it. When you must criticize, try finding a way to do so indirectly. This is similar to the bad news sandwich method. You have to be able to give hard news sometimes. When giving a bad news sandwich, always use and not but. Most people begin their criticism with appreciation, but then follow it with the word but, and go into the bad news, such as you've been working so hard and we really appreciate that, but. Once someone hears the but, it makes them question the sincerity of the appreciation. Try replacing the word but with and. Example, you've been working so hard and we really appreciate that, and we have some ideas on how to make all of your effort pay off even more. Here's what we were thinking. Principle number 24, admit your mistakes up front. Talk about your own mistakes first. When we make a mistake, we often try hiding it or burying the bad news. Carnegie offers the exact opposite advice. He says you should admit your mistakes and shortcomings right away so someone sees your transparency. In a job interview, this might mean bringing up a gap in your resume or skills before you are asked. This shows that you are not trying to hide anything and puts you in control of how you frame the information. After sharing a mistake or bad news, talk about how you will solve it. Principle number 25. Control your bossiness. No one likes to take orders. Even if you are a manager or boss, beware of giving orders. No one likes to be bossed around. Principle number 26. Consider someone's ego. Let the other man say it to his face. If you have feedback for someone or want to challenge someone's opinion, you want to do it privately. Nothing is more shameful than being reprimanded or corrected in front of a large group of people. Think about someone's ego if you do have to give them a bad news sandwich. Do it privately and maybe at the end of a day or before a weekend so they can head home to process in private. Principle number 27. Be liberal with praise. While Carnegie encourages readers to be careful and hold back criticism or judgment, he says to deliver genuine praise whenever it is warranted. Here are some ideas. Thank people for their work. Compliment any exceptional traits or qualities. Be specific with your compliments and don't give everyone the same compliments. Principle number 28. Promise to think over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully. A truth of human nature is that people will be compelled to live up to whatever reputation you attribute to them. When you give someone a positive label or set a high bar, they are more likely to clear it. Carnegie summarizes this well: the average person can be led readily if you have his or her respect, and if you show that you respect that person for some kind of ability. Always be looking for someone's natural skills or talents, then remind them of these talents so they use them more often. Principle number 29. Thank your opponents. Make the faults seem easy to correct. As much as possible, praise someone's good points and minimize their faults. When you encourage people to reach their goals and overcome their obstacles, they are more likely to feel less overwhelmed or threatened. Principle number 30. Get on the same page. The final message of the book summarizes everything Carnegie stands for. He encourages readers to think about everyone else's perspective, have high expectations, and help people get what they want. Being good with people is about making it about them. At Helpful Dreams, our mission is to help you achieve your social and professional goals faster using science-backed practical advice. Please subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Our team curates the best communication, relationship, and social skills research, turning it into actionable and relatable life skills.
hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.